That's the official title on my door, just great dude. So I first off, this is my family, and if you guys want this presentation, I got a bunch of resources and stuff, feel free, and I can share it out. So this is my wife, Jenica. She also graduated. She always tells me she has more degrees from Emporia than I do. She has 3. So she wins. Yes, and then this is my daughter, Brooklyn, and my son, Oliver, who will hopefully someday be Emporia graduates. So I got my undergrad in Emporia in 2008. I was on Union Activities Council. I was president of that organization. That was really what got me connected in. I also developed a love of video editing in this room, but it wasn't like this room. It didn't look nearly this. I mean, it looked cool for 2008, but it wasn't nearly as advanced as this is now. But that's why I started doing some video editing. And then I got my degree in instructional design and technology. And I had the smart idea, so I started my master's degree. I bought a house, my daughter was born, and I started my first teaching job all at the same time, which was not a good idea, but I figured it out and I ended up graduating, surviving. So, and here I am today. I teach at Santa Fe Trail Middle School in Olathe. I teach language arts, newspaper, I've taught Read 180. I currently teach 6th graders because they're my favorite. They are like just switching from elementary to middle school, so I get help with that transition. They're goofy and they get my humor, and they're not too like moody and obnoxious. Like the 8th graders get a little attitude, and I'm done with them by that point. I also coach the robotics team, so there's our robotics team up there. And then I do a whole bunch of tech clubs in my building. I've also done some consultant work with KU. We're working on developing a writing platform to help pair technology with writing strategies. And then I got my awards. I always tell parents about the awards I got because I don't want them to go home and say, oh my gosh, we did the weirdest, craziest thing ever in class today. We battled Mr. Stock's evil twin, or we climbed up Mount Everest. I want them to know, hey, I actually have won some awards, so there's some background pedagogy to what I'm doing. It's not just weird, crazy stuff in the classroom. I do love to present at conferences, but this is really cool to come back here and present. I expect all of you to take notes over all of that. Every bullet. I'll be checking notes, letting your professors know that you did. So you got a little nervous there. I also teach summer camps at Johnson County Community College, and that's just a nice side gig because I do language arts all school year, and then I get to really focus in on tech over the summer. So this, for example, is one of my students created the game Stratego. He created a scoring system for it with a makey board and Play-Doh, and so he made Play-Doh buttons that actually kept score in Stratego and made it a little more an advanced game. It was a lot of fun. Please, if you see anything and you're like, I want to know more about that, please just ask. I like interacting with you guys. So I am a part of the school redesign team. Have any of you ever heard of the school redesign? Okay, so the state of education decided about 3 years ago that we needed to revamp education in the entire state of Kansas. And in order to do that, they said, we are going to give schools permission to change whatever they want. However, we're not going to give them any additional money for it. We're not going to do anything, but we're also not going to add any rules to it. And so 14 schools, including my own, decided to completely change up our schedule. We completely added new intervention times. We added some SEL, social emotional learning lessons. So it's been a really interesting experience and also terrifying. And there's been some times when I was frustrated, but there have also been some really cool moments in that. So now for all the fun, cool, crazy, interesting, weird stuff that I do that makes me a cool dude, apparently. One of my all-time favorites right now is gamification. Have you guys ever explored gamification at all? Okay. All this means is I add stuff that you would do in a board game into my classroom instruction. So for example, the very first, probably second or third day of school, I played this for my students, and I forgot to check if the sound is going to work, so fingers crossed. It takes about like 30 seconds to get sound.
Are you ready to head out on the epic novel quest? Get ready to travel through treacherous, novel realms in search of fame and riches. But watch out for traps, challenges, and evil henchmen along the way. The villainous Dr. Von Stock, evil twin to Mr. Stock. He has an eye patch, so he's obviously evil. Will stop at nothing to keep you from your goal. Survive if you can. Mr. Stock has sent guides to help you in your quest, but ultimately, it is up to you to complete this journey. Complete side quests, earn chance cards, and complete epic boss battles to rise on the leaderboard and earn fame and glory, and ultimately go down in history as a legend. Good luck on your novel quest.
So when parents see that, they don't know what to make of it. They're like, I don't know about this guy. I showed that to parents at back to school night, and they're like, I don't know what to think about him. I guess class is going to be interesting, but I hope the kids learn some stuff too. So what I do is I just layer all these game elements on top of all of the lessons that I want to teach. I also wrote up a website, created a website, which I also learned in my instructional design and technology training, was I learned how to create a really cool website. And so I threw a whole bunch of resources up there if anybody's interested. So I had to come up with a theme. And so my students are battling my evil twin, Dr. Von Stock. Like I said, he's got this evil pirate eye patch, so obviously he's evil. And so then each unit that we do has some sort of connection to that, but it also centers around my novel that we do. So when we read The True Confessions of Charlotte Doyle, which is about a girl who goes on a ship in the 1800s, they have their own team ships that they're trying to help chase after Dr. Von Stock. We do time traveling, we just finished climbing up Mount Everest to go along with the novel we're doing. And so they had to form their own camps on top of Mount Everest, and I'll show you some of that. My second thing I add to add game elements to my classroom is called, these are called chance cards, at least that's what I call them. And I pass these out for positive rewards when kids are working really hard, when they are turning something on time. Sometimes they complete an assignment before anyone else. I'll give them one of these, and sometimes it's to steal points from another team like this one. Sometimes I add dice rolls to it to earn points for the team, but my absolute favorite is this one. It's the How You Like Me Meow card. If they play it against another team, for the entire rest of the day, that team has to say meow after every sentence, and it is great. And then I go and follow them around throughout the day, and I stop them in front of their friends, and I say, hey, how's your day going? It's going okay, meow. And their friends look at them like, what is going on? And then I keep going. And then once their friends get a hold of it and they realize what's going on, they're like, yeah, how was your day? Wait, no, I didn't hear you. What'd you say? It's fine now. And it's great. I did have to add the rule that I have to be present in order for it to be in effect, because it was driving the cafeteria workers crazy. Because they were going through the lunch line, like, all right, here's your change, thanks, man. And they had no idea what's going on. So I have to be present in order for that one to be in effect. But again, these are just little things that I add into the classroom. I used to try to make them really fancy and on cardstock and stuff, and now I'm just like, whatever. They like them just the same if they're on printed off paper, and I cut them out, and I'm not great at cutting on the lines, so they're not perfect, but the kids enjoy it. I make all of them using this website called MTG Cardsmith, which is Magic the Gathering. So there's a lot of Magic the Gathering cards on there, and then just random cards like this. So I'm sure all the Magic the Gathering people are like, what is this guy doing and why is he here? But I'm okay with that. I also add dice to spice up the class. If I feel like we have block days 2 days a week, and sometimes an hour and a half sitting in language arts can be boring, even with an awesome dude leading the class. And so I'll throw in either a head-to-head dice battle where one member of each team is going to come up, roll the dice, and the winning team gets points. I have custom dice that I've created. You can go to Michael's and get these just wooden cubes, and you can put whatever you want on it. So like I've got one that multiplies whatever numbers on the dice by 2 or 3 or 4. I got some that tells how many points they can get. Sometimes I'll add content on it, so like roll the dice, describe the main character, or roll it, one side might say, describe the setting of the story. But my favorite was number stations, and it's a little complicated, so I'm gonna try to explain it. So basically I had 5 stations all around the room, and each station had a different challenge that they had to come up with. So for example, one station they had to come up with 3 similes to describe the ship in their book. Then they had, one of them they had to describe a character. One of them they had to correct 5 sentences for grammar. One of them they had to complete a plot diagram. And then I gave them 30 minutes with their group to complete as many of these as possible. And for each one of these that they completed, they got, that point was a safe point when they rolled the dice at the end of the hour. And so at the end of the hour, if they completed the first 3 challenges and they rolled the dice, if they got a 1, 2, or 3, they got bonus points for their team. If they got 4, 5, or 6, they lost. And it was great because no matter what, there's always the 6th option where they always have the chance to lose. And that is one thing that I always added in was, I want to make it so that those kids who are, they don't get so frustrated because the same teams win every single time. I want it so that there's always that chance that there's this come from behind victory. The team that they struggled, they got the first 2, but they still somehow managed to get a win. It keeps them engaged in class, and usually they try a little harder the next time. I also do leaderboards in my class, and so I use a website called Awesome Table. And what that does is this pairs with a Google Sheet. So I just create a Google Sheet with all of my team names on it, their points, and then I just copy the link into this website, and it creates a really cool looking leaderboard that they can actually, and I don't want to touch the screen because I'm afraid I'm gonna mess it up, but they can actually sort it by points, or they can sort it by teams, or they can sort it by what hour it's from, and they can actually see how many points, where they stand on there. And this has been a great motivator for some kids who just really want to know if they're in the lead, or more importantly, if they're beating all of their friends. Sometimes they don't even care if they're winning everything, they just want to know that their best friend in 7th hour is losing to them, and then they rub it in. And maybe I need to stop some of that. Any questions about any of this so far? Okay. So I also do side quests. Side quests used to be like extra credit, and it's weird because I took all the extra credit stuff I used to do, enrichment activities, further explorations on what we're studying, and I shared it with students and nobody did them. And then I changed the name to side quests, and like 1/4 of the kids all did these extra side quest projects just because I called it something different. Kids are weird. Like, it's the weird little quirks that get them motivated. And so, for example, this one of my students created an entire ship from the novel in Minecraft. And I bet he spent 3 hours designing the ship and then recording this video describing what the Seahawk looked like. This one, in class, we wrote stories about what a sailor might tell when they're sitting around. Usually they were about like mermaids or pirates. And for bonus points, they could do a side quest where they actually recorded themselves acting out the story. And so this is 2 of my students. I don't know why he felt like he needed a handlebar mustache on this pirate ship, but we went with it. And so this team actually ended up winning that year just because they really got into these extra side quest projects. We also have boss battles where my students are battling against different villains that Dr. Von Stock sends their way. So this is Zach the Yak. He was on the mountain. He was last seen in Tibet near the base of Mount Everest. In order to defeat him, the kids had to come up with 8 different connections between characters in our novel. And so it was still had this content element to it, but they didn't know what was going on. They just knew that they wanted to defeat him because he's big and tough and looks evil. And then what I didn't tell them is every team that was defeated, I had them raise up their hand, their non-dominant hand, and I said, okay, you guys just got frostbite on that hand. And so then I rolled the dice, and whatever number it landed on, that's how many fingers they lost from frostbite. The whole rest of the day, they had to go around without those fingers. And that was fun too, except for the kids who were in orchestra and band, because some of them still tried to play their instrument. You can stop playing the game when you go to, no, I have to do it. One kid came back and was like, my hand hurts so bad. I'm like, just open your feet. No, I've got frostbite. I can't do that. It's so much fun. It's these little moments that are laid on top of what I'm trying to teach the kids that really keep them motivated and engaged in class. And then here is Dr. Von Stock. So I learned a long time ago that you have to embrace the cheesy elements, the super over-the-top ridiculousness. I play this for my students, and it is very clear that this is green screen. The kids know it's green screen, I know it's green screen, but when they said, Mr. Stock, I can see the line where the green screen was, I told them, no, that's just a shadow. I don't know what you're talking about. And then at certain points, my arm gets cut off from the side of the screen. I said, that's again, just shadows. So I'm not gonna play the full video, but I'll play a couple of seconds of it. It was twin day at school, so obviously I had to bring Dr. Von Stock in to meet with me.
Look, here's the deal. You guys don't believe that we are twins, so I brought Dr. Von Stock in, as evil as he is, to prove to you that we are twins. Look, we are identical. We even dressed alike today to show how identical we are.
I will also, sometimes Dr. Von Stock visits my class, and throughout the hour I'll change where the eye patch is. And then when they call me out,
We are
honestly,
twins.
it's been on this eye the entire time.
That's just rude. He is a rude person. Don't listen to anything he says.
So that is one way I get the kids engaged and have some epic moments in the classroom, is layering these gamification elements. The second way, and this is one of my favorites, is room transformations, where I transform my room. And again, if you focus too much on, well, it's not gonna be perfect, then you won't do it. What I learned is the kids want to see the effort, and they will make believe with you if you set it up and refuse to acknowledge that it's not what you say it is. So for example, we took a flight to Tibet. We're reading a novel where a kid goes on a flight to Tibet and then climbs up Mount Everest. And so I had all the desks lined up in rows. Normally they're in groups. I had this picture of a pilot on the front screen. Picture of a pilot on the front screen. I had their in-flight entertainment was, I read the novel to them on this app called Edpuzzle. And so their in-flight entertainment was reading the novel with me. And I had a little cart with animal crackers, and I pushed it down the aisle for their in-flight snack. And I just never broke character. I said, I am your flight attendant. I will be taking you on this flight to Tibet. And then at various points, I played different slides with the pilot coming on and welcoming them to the flight. I went through a whole safety check and warned them that if they left to go to the bathroom, they might never come back. I hope they have a parachute. And it was great because the kids spent 40 minutes reading this book that if I hadn't had this engagement element to it, half of them probably would have still read it. But half of them would have been wandering off, I have to go to the bathroom, I'm not engaged right now, I'm not interested, messing with their neighbor. And so they were all hooked in to the book. And I also put on the wall, I put on my windows, I covered them with white paper, blue paper for sky. So they didn't see the school next door. They just saw blue sky with clouds. And then I hid Superman in the upper corner. And that was more just to see which kids would notice it. And so the kids who found it thought it was a lot of fun too. And then we just recently climbed up Mount Everest. So I pushed all the desks off to the side and covered them with white paper for snow. I set up a tent in the middle of my room. I got these benches in my room, but I added a fake fire with construction paper. I had little expedition passes so that they can get on to their campsite. And then each group, I drew names to see which team got to choose their campsite first. And the tent was obviously the most popular. Everyone wanted to go in the tent. So first team got to go pick, and they always chose the tent. And then another group might want to go sit by the fire. Another group wanted to go sit in some comfy chairs I have set up in my room. But I had a coat on, I had my sunglasses on, hat, gloves, scarf. I'm dying because it's feels like it's 100 degrees in there, but it was worth it. And it was just this moment where, again, it was a block day. And so kids spent about 60 minutes reading a book straight with a little bit of a break in between for the battling Zach the Yak. And again, I went with it, I committed to it. We had little balls of white paper on the ground that was snow, but it was very clear that it's white paper. And there were a couple of kids who every hour would come in and say, this is just paper. And then every hour, I didn't have to say anything because the other students were, no, it's not, it's snow. Then they take the snow and throw it out. And then they took it a little too far and they started adding yellow snow to it. And I work with middle schoolers, so that is where we're at. But this was, again, a great moment. I also served them hot tea. I was shocked at how many kids had never had tea before. And so I served them some hot tea I just made a big crock pot full of hot tea bags, honey, a little bit of Splenda. It was also a good moment where I taught them, okay, there are only 2 responses you're allowed to give. Thank you, no thank you. It's not polite to ask for seconds of something. It's not polite. So there are all these little teaching moments that I can have along the way that just help them survive life in a more effective way. My all-time favorite right now, which hopefully in the near future, like next summer, a book will be coming out about this. But I love video in the classroom. I create videos any possible chance I can. I try to create, actually, on that note, do you guys mind if I record a quick video for my students? They like seeing all this weird random stuff. We had a parent-teacher conference yesterday, so they're not actually in school today, but I will share this with them. Are you guys okay with the video?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hey guys, this is what I'm doing on my day off. Everybody say hi.
Hey.
All right, so I'm presenting some amazing people in Emporia about all the cool stuff you guys are doing in class. So yeah, I just want to say hi. I hope you're having a great weekend, and I hope you are all finishing your book because it is due on Monday. Finish the book. It is amazing. I hope to see you all on Monday. All right, bye guys. So I will post that on YouTube, which a lot of my students are subscribed to me. I will also post it on Google Classroom, which then they'll see it. Most of them will comment and say, Mr. Stock, you're weird. Why are you posting this on your day off? But it's good natured. And the way I know that they're engaged and interested is the fact that on their day off, they're watching random videos that their teacher posts and commenting, even when they make goofy, random, off-the-wall comments. They still took the time to watch it. So I always do a morning announcement each day. I record a quick 2-minute announcement. And what I love about this is it gives me 2 minutes while the announcements are playing to check in with kids. So I've got kids in each hour that I know they either, the class before this one is one of their hardest subjects and I need to check in with them. Something may have happened in the hall and I saw when they were walking in, they were having a rough day. So I check in with them. I have outside of my door, I have a poster that they slap when they walk in and it says high five, fist bump, hug, or there's 3 at the bottom that say, leave me alone. They're all emojis. Leave me alone, rough day, and I can't remember what the other one. Oh, I need to talk. And so when they come in the room, I know exactly how they're feeling that day. And so the kids who slap rough day or slap we need to talk, while the announcements are playing, I'm checking in with those kids. So I also try to make sure, so this is, I won't play these, but the kids also enjoy the random thumbnails that YouTube selects for it, like this one. I don't even know what to say. I mean, I'm like half asleep, I don't know. But I also make sure that anytime I go anywhere like this, I am always recording announcements or sending videos to my students. So a few years ago, we went to Washington, DC, so I recorded a video in front of the White House, and I was able to show them, hey, this White House is a real building, and for them to see it behind me, they get some perspective on it too, because on TV it looks huge and this big, huge place, and then when you go there, it's like, it's not really that big. It's not as big as I thought it was. I thought it was this huge, like, ginormous, like 10 city blocks of building, and it's just, you know, it's a building behind me. And so I recorded morning announcements. I sent this to them. I think we recorded it like 8 o'clock in the morning. By 8:10, it was on an iPad.
I also thought that that was a good way, because he had a substitute for this. So then he sends it right then. And so it's a good way for him to check in with his kids when he's not even there. So they're still seeing his face and hearing his voice.
And I always add in reminders like, hey, be nice to your substitute. Say thank you afterwards. I have one Google slide that I give to every substitute. And in it, I post the announcement video. And I also post the instructions for the day. And so then they get it right away and they hear directly from me what they're supposed to be doing. Because I've got some amazing subs in the building, but sometimes my sub plans are not as great as they could be. And so this way, it's very clear. I also have done in the past, especially if I know pretty far in advance that I'm going to be gone, I record a quick video for my substitutes and I say, hey, this is what we've got coming up today. This is when you need to go to lunch. This is when you need to work on different things, and it helps give clearer instructions to my substitutes. I also like to give pep talks, wish them good luck on assessments, wish them good luck if I know they've got like a track meet or something coming up. So I'll record random videos with random guests, like Batman, obviously, and Dr. Von Stock, and whoever else random person I can dress up as that day. I also do corrections. So there was one day I took my daughter to the dentist, and I may or may not stock my students' assignments when I'm gone. So they have a Google Doc where they can actually type on a document and I can see what they're typing. And so I was looking at their answers to one of the questions I posed, and they were completely off base, like no idea what they were supposed to be doing. So it's very clear that I could either do something about it now or have to completely revamp my lesson plans and fix it all the next day. So instead what I did is I dropped my daughter off, I got in my car, recorded a quick video explaining what they might have missed, and then posted it on Google Classroom. So that first hour that got it, that made the mistakes, I still had to reteach them. But all the rest of the hours that day, they all had these this explanation of what they were supposed to do for the assignment. I also do anticipation videos, so I will pose a random question that I know is gonna irritate some of them and get them excited for class, because I don't know if you know this about middle schoolers, but they love to argue a lot, and they think that their opinion is right all the time. And so I will pose a question and then not say anything until the next day. And they come in ready for a discussion or a debate, or they're just telling me that I'm completely wrong and ridiculous. But that's okay. I also do class recaps. This is one that I struggle with as far as time goes to remember to do it, but I try to recap what we did that day. At the end of the day, quick video. Hey, this is what we worked on. Don't forget, you've got this for homework. This one, parent updates, has probably had the biggest impact on my communication with parents. So I will, about every other week, I'll send them a video. I used to send out this big, huge newsletter about all the things we were doing in class. And then I started getting my own kids' newsletters, and it just does not click with me. I get like 2 pages worth of all the great things they're doing in their classroom, and I completely lose focus on what's going on. I lose focus on what I'm supposed to be paying attention to. There's dates everywhere. So with this, I just do a quick video, and then I also do that newsletter, but for the parents who don't want to scroll through the entire newsletter, they can just see a quick highlight video. And I've got a lot of great feedback from parents, plus they're seeing my face. And so when we email back and forth or we call back and forth, they can put a face to a name. And then I started doing this. I thought, well, if it works for parents, what if I did this for teachers too? So instead of doing like 10 pages worth of notes of all the things we discussed in the building leadership team meeting, instead I do a 2-minute video. Hey, this is what's coming up. I work with the principal to discuss, well, what are the main ideas that we need to cover? And then I just do a quick highlight video so that they don't have to scroll through and read, because everyone's busy and they don't have time for that all the time. Another one that has had a huge impact on the positive class climate has been tweet-ups. And I wrote more details about it if you're interested, but tweet-ups are basically students write positive notes to each other about great things they've done in the classroom. So if a student really helped them out in the hallway, or a student really helped them with their assignments, or if they just were having a bad day and the student just was kind to them, they can write a tweet up, and then I record a video reading all those off. And it makes a difference if I tell them they did something great, but in middle school, sometimes it's even more impactful if their friends are saying that they did something great. And it's even more impactful if someone they don't even know said they saw them do something great. Do you have any questions about any of this? I know it's like a lot rapid fire ideas, but let's be helpful. All right, I'm not gonna watch that, but I mean, if you want to go back and watch it, you're welcome to. I am a cool dude, so. Some of the videos that require a little more prep time, all of those can be done in about 5 minutes. Some of them take a little more prep time, so I do some stop motion videos, and that is usually for a change of pace, so that when I do the announcements, they're not seeing the same thing. One of my favorite ways to do it is you can actually take magnets and stick it on, I've got some Lego paper figures, and I stick them on my whiteboard, which is also magnetic, and then I can just do stop motion and move them around. And since it's on a whiteboard, I can also write on the board. I think here's an example. I'm sorry, I should play it, right?
The center screen.
Oh, center screen, okay, cool. Oh, I messed it up. I knew it. I messed it up. All right, we're just gonna pretend like you saw this video and it was amazing, everything. Oh, there we go. All right. All right, so that one took about 30 minutes. Here's another video I talked about what is a claim. I also like to add different characters into my videos, like I said before. So Dr. Von Stock, there are special agents that help them along the way, and they all mysteriously look exactly like me. And so that's Special Agent A, Agent B. These agents just, they're not very good at the job all the time. So these all are random videos I shot. This one right here, I had the idea at like 7:30. It's like, okay, do I have time? I can run outside and record a quick video. So I recorded it, and within about 15 minutes, it was uploaded on YouTube. This is one of the biggest game changers for my reading instruction. So I do, it's called in-flipping, where instead of doing, have you guys heard of flipped learning?
Yes.
Okay, so in-flipping is where instead of having flipped learning outside of the classroom, they're watching flip videos in the classroom, and then I can stop and help them along the way while they're working on it. And so I do recordings of myself reading chapters of the book to the students. And then I use an app called Edpuzzle, and what this allows me to do is it posts the video, but they can't fast forward through it. It's great because they're like, Mr. Stock, I know I read that chapter. Okay, well, let's they can fast forward if they've already watched it. And so I'll go to fast forward. It says you only got through 2 minutes of your video. Okay, fine. And then they go back and actually watch it. And then I can embed questions in there too. So I will add reflection questions about what they're reading, but I also add in questions about how I am reading the book to them. So for example, at one point I lost my place in the book. And then I thought, okay, great question. So I asked them, what do you do when you get stuck? What do you do when you lose your place in your reading? How do you solve that problem? And then I was able to see which students knew what they could do to fix that. And I had a handful of students who didn't know what to do when they got lost in a book. And so then I was able to sit down and talk with those kids individually. Okay, well, here's some strategies you might use. It's been perfect at parent-teacher conferences too. So yesterday I was able to tell the parents, okay, so there's 30 chapters. Your student's on chapter 29. They're almost done. They just need to finish the book. And then other students, I was able to say, your student has 12 chapters left to read. A little bit less than half of the book to read. So they've got a lot of reading to do. And so there are some kids who are going to have a not so fun 4 days off of school. They're going to be, should have been kinder to them, but they should have kept up with their work. So that's how I do in-flipping. This is my student's favorite all-time video. And I'm not going to play the video just because of time, but basically we talk about external conflicts, and I have an external conflict with my daughter who throws a dodgeball at me. And then she's got an internal conflict where she can't decide if she should throw the ball at me again, and then she does. And the kids watch it over and over and over because they love to learn and they want to know about internal and external conflict. Or they just like Mr. Stock getting hit with the ball really hard. But it's had like 5,000 views on YouTube. So yeah. But I think you're going to understand conflicts by the end of it. I also do, this is a lesson I did on prefixes and suffixes. And I think this is one where you came in and I was laying on the floor with action figures, recorded, like cameras here, action figures, I'm playing, and she goes,
It gets a little weird.
yeah, she's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm working, I promise, this is for kids. I'm just like, seriously? She's like, but it worked. They learned their prefixes and suffixes, and most of them did well in the quiz. I also am working on creating more student-generated videos through Flipgrid. How many of you guys have ever used Flipgrid or heard of Flipgrid? Okay, Flipgrid is amazing. It is a way for students to post videos in a more controlled environment. So I can pose a question, and then students can actually respond and post videos on Flipgrid. And the only people who are able to access those videos is people I give permission to. And then they can respond and post their own videos in response to what the students have posted. And so they can start having these video dialogues like they might on, what does Employee use now for their learning management system?
Canvas.
Canvas, okay, so it's kind of like Canvas where you would have a discussion board post, only in this case it's video, and then I can control it all for the students, and it's free, which is also a part, because Microsoft bought them, and now they've got all these Microsoft resources to help provide it for free. So the last thing I'm gonna share is, how many of you are on Twitter? How many of you are on LinkedIn? Okay. How many of you are on YouTube? Instagram? TikTok? So my middle school is like all over TikTok, and I have not figured that one out. I also can't figure out, so Snapchat bugs me because I'm like, I don't want things to go away. I feel old, but Snapchat just hasn't clicked with me. However, each one of those has a very good use. You just have to realize who is on it. I created a Twitter account for my students, and then I told them about it, and they said Twitter was for old people. And so I was like, it hurt my heart, and I had to make my peace with that. However, Twitter is my greatest resource for connecting with other teachers. It's also community members, including superintendent, that whole leadership team for the district. I want them to see all the really cool things we're doing in my classroom, so that when I come to them with really wild and crazy ideas, I can say, hey, I want to do this. And now it's to the point where they give me a lot of permission because they know what I'm doing in my classroom, and they know that there's some sort of content connected to it. But I also engage in a lot of Twitter chats. Have you guys ever done a Twitter chat? Oh my gosh, you are missing out. So Twitter chats, a group of people all come together at the same time and chat about a certain discussion topic. So I do one on Tuesday nights. It's all about gamification and learning. And someone will post questions, and then everybody just responds at the same time. So in this chat that I'm on, there are teachers there's a teacher who works in Israel, there's a teacher who works in China, there's a teacher who works all over the US, and we all come together and talk about this topic in a live stream of discussion, instead of posting something and then 2 days later someone else responds. This is like, it's a 30-minute long chat, and so everybody's posting at the exact same time. I do Instagram with my students. I have a class feed. I post things about the cool stuff we're doing in the classroom. But I've also learned that if I say, hey, you've got homework, and I post it on Instagram, they're a lot more likely to see it and look at it. Now I need to figure out TikTok so that I can post it on there and they said I'd ruin Instagram, so now I can go ruin TikTok. I can't remember who said it, but I went to a session one time, and the presenter said that she wants to help guide students in that space because just your presence in that space helps show kids, model how to use it effectively. And so I want to be in those spaces, not necessarily to ruin it, but just to know that, hey, there is an adult in the space, so knock off all the goofiness that you're doing, and of course I'm wearing a pirate eye patch, so maybe there's a little bit of goofiness. But I want to engage in that space to help show them and model how to use it effectively and appropriately. I also have a Facebook page, which is different than your typical Facebook profile. So a page is like a business page. So I've got Josh Stock, the business, and that is where I post all of the professional things that I do, so that if someone goes and follows me on Facebook, they're usually following this Facebook page. So it's not, I mean, my kids are amazing and they do amazing things. And I'm sure everybody wants to see all the cute things my kids are doing. However, more likely, if they're following me, they want to see the stuff that's going on in my classroom. Although I may sneak a couple of pictures of my children in there every once in a while, just because I want to brag on them, because they're amazing. And then sometimes I will just create random memes, because I mean, who doesn't want to be a meme? So this is my student, William. He sat there and we were talking about responsibility, and he said, "Be responsible, bro." I said, "Okay, well, let's make that a meme." Took a picture of it, and I had it on my screen for like a week, and he was the biggest celebrity, and it was a great boost for him because he got to be Mr. Popular, and it's a great reminder to everyone else, because they were joking around about it, but they were all joking around saying, "Be responsible, bro," and it was still getting locked in their memory. I also, like I said, use YouTube a lot. I have a YouTube channel, and it has had a good impact on my parents who subscribe to me. I have students who subscribe to my videos. I share my videos everywhere, but this is great because it's a free way to house all of your videos. And there are actually 3 settings. One is public, which anyone can see. One is unlisted, which I use that one a lot for my building leadership team meeting videos that I send out, because I don't care if other people see it, but my students don't care about the lunchroom policies that we're debating. And so I do unlisted so that it's just going to anybody who really needs it. And then there's private, which has a lot more restrictions that I don't use as much. You guys ever use Buffer? Okay, Buffer and Hootsuite are both pretty similar, but Buffer is a website. If you want to post on multiple social media platforms at one time, Buffer allows you to connect. So right now, I think I took LinkedIn out and I do Instagram instead, but you can post the same post on 3 different sources. So like Facebook, in this case, LinkedIn and Twitter. So if I want to, I take a picture of something awesome the kids do, I can post it to all of my social media at one time. And it makes it easier for me. I can also program posts so that I can do up to 10 in advance. So each day of the week, I try to post a positive quote or message. I can plan those in advance. And the kids just think I'm an amazing Instagram expert because I just always do it on time. They don't know that on Sundays, I just go and post them all at the same time. If This and That is also just a fun random program to play around with. And it is a good way to connect different applications together. And then I design all my stuff in Canva. It's a great way to create digital resources. Sure. One last thing. I do a lot of podcasting. So I have the Kansas Moonshot podcast. You should follow it. It's great and amazing. But I'm like a month overdue on my latest episode. So I need to get something posted. Maybe I'll talk about this amazing experience of being a cool dude at a Emporia State presentation. So Kansas Moonshot podcast, where I talk about school redesign stuff. This is a new one that I'm starting where we talk about, I bring students in, talk about things we're doing in the classroom. And the last one is a district podcast I helped create where we talk about all the cool stuff going on in our district. So if you ever want to start a podcast, reach out to me now and I can help you with that. The initial setup is a pain, but once you get it set up, it's really easy to post. That's it. Do you guys have any questions?